Good evening and welcome to the March 5th meeting of school budget meeting of the Acton School Committee. And we will start our meeting tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you, folks. We'll be looking at our final budget article, which is Article 6 tonight. It's not very long. I have Mike here for some of the questions on technology. And then after we do Article 6, that will complete our work on the total budget for the FY20 proposed Acton school budget. Kim has put in your book the final overview of the entire budget. We'll review that together, and then once we're done with that, we'll look at our reserve fund balances, and that should take care of our evening. So that's the work ahead of us now. If you will allow me to, I'll just go over the 6 scribe statements for the Acton School Department FY20 school budget meeting norms. Our norms are: we will strive to work together as a community that values the education that our children receive at AES. We will strive to be fully present at the meetings by becoming familiar with the materials and by being attentive. We will strive to invite and welcome the contributions of every member and listen to each other. We will strive to be involved to our individual level of comfort. Each of us is responsible for airing disagreements during the meeting rather than carrying those disagreements outside the meeting. We'll strive to operate in a collegial and friendly atmosphere, and we'll strive to be responsible for examining all points of view. And with that, just as a quick refresher how we read our articles, this is set up the same as the other articles that we've already reviewed. Working from the left to the right, we have our 3 previous budget years, and then you'll see the projected budget, proposed budget for FY19 and 20, and then a variance, which is either a positive or negative number. A negative number has parentheses around it, or it's flat, which will just be a dash, which means that there is no change from one year to the next. And when we get to things such as the paid benefits, including Medicare, which you'll see, those are fixed costs that I've explained in previous meetings, and I probably won't spend a lot of time with those as we go down each line. The first one is the professional salaries for the social worker. In the FY budget, there's a proposal of a decrease in about $13,500, and that is the contracted salary for a full-time social worker in the school. The difference there is a change in staff from last year to this year, moving forward. Then the professional benefits for the social worker, you can see there's a variance of $289 less. The group insurance is different too, for a variance of minus $67.69. And then the teacher's retirement, there's a variance there that's down $466. The staff development for this particular counselor is a new item. This is a person who came in with a bachelor's degree, and the certification and licensure requirements for our new social worker require her to meet with the counselor who carries a master's and a clinical license, who works with Sweetser down the hall, and that's about an $1,800 cost to the district to make sure that she is fully licensed and has the mentoring that she needs to have for her certification. Travels and conferences is flat at $500. Counselor supplies, no change at $500. Books and periodicals, no change at $250. And now, and programs stays at $1,000 to help our social worker with positive behavioral interventions and supports, which is a school-wide program. We shift now from the social worker to the nurse.
John?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. Going back to the very first line.
You bet.
The contract went down?
Change of personnel. So Roland, basically the person who's in the position going into next year is at a bachelor's level, has a bachelor's degree, and the person who held the position prior had a master's degree and more experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Good question. Okay, so now we are on nurses' salaries. Nurse salary with an increase of $1,234 for a full-time nurse. The benefits, positive change for $188. The group insurance, a change of $1,598. And then the main teachers, $176. Some of those are the fixed costs. I'm turning the page with you.
Can you go
Yeah.
off this page?
Please.
On the, council staff development, the $1,800,
Yes.
we had hired somebody with a higher qualification, would you not need the services from Sweetser?
That's a good question. The person who we hired has the right degree and experience for our student body, for the work that we do day to day in the school, our new hire. The Sweetser person is an outside contracted agency that's here in our building. It's kind of a neat program where families, it's a service to families that if students need social work beyond what the school has to offer, Sweetser has available a licensed clinical social worker here in the building who has, the only two things we have to allow her, Virginia, is space. We need to give her an office and we need to give her a phone. Other than that, there's no cost to the district. Because that lady works in our building as a contracted agent and works with families and kids, she has the licensed clinical social worker licensure that our school social worker needs to have her supervise her. It's a situation in mental health that you need to have. It's almost like an electrician. If you're a journeyman, you need a master electrician to work under.
Right.
It's almost the same exact thing. Whereas our social worker we had previously, she had her own licensed clinical social work degree and licensure on her own. She didn't need the mentoring.
Did we not have Sweetser last year?
I mean, we've had Sweetser for a number of years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
you bet.
So, so we don't have it here just for that reason.
No, the Sweetser person's here anyway. She's down the hall, and we thought it would be a good mentor for our new hire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it cost us $1,800 for the mentoring, but we saved $13,000 on the hire overall. Nurse contract, up at the top of the page, just to help me, I wrote FY20 and variance at the top. Those are the two numbers I generally look at. The contracted services with the physician's coverage, which is something we have to have. The nurse, again, has to report up to a doctor because there's medicine here in the school. That's flat at $1,000. Nurses repair and maintenance, no change at $100. $50 increase in travel and conferences for her to keep up on her professional development. Her supplies are up $50. Dues and fees is no change. This next person, so that takes care of the nurse. The next person, it just says professional salaries, but under it I wrote in instructional coach / assistant principal. And that's the person who works directly with the teachers for professional development and serves as the next in charge as an administrator when I'm not in the building for some reason. And on this one, you'll see that this person comes in at an FY20 salary, but it's actually $2,000 less than we had budgeted from the person before her, if that makes sense. We had a person with a doctorate level who worked here for 2 years, and that's what that placeholder was based on. So our new instructional coach, AP, there is a variance, and it's negative. And the benefits are down a little, $60. The professional group insurance is different, so it's a little bit higher with this employee, and that's up $4,000. And then we get into main teachers, difference of positive $49. No change in travel and conferences for the coach. Instructional supplies are up $350. Books and periodicals are up $50. Dues and fees are flat, no change.
Wait, books and periodicals for couching. Do you want to fix that?
Books for instructional coach program.
For coaching.
Oh, above it, I'm sorry, yes, for
What you're
coaching.
taking there?
It's to read on the couch.
And the one underneath. There's two of them.
Yeah, there's two of them, I see them.
So just fix that.
There is something that I do want you to make note of. Since this went out, it was already in your hands. The professional salaries, if you read across, it says salary for 6 student days during the summer. That's really teacher days. This is a professional development line, and that is for the Google training. It's PD. So we've place marked, that's why it's new. It's $2,856 for 6 teachers to attend technology training over the summer. It says 6 students, it needs to say 6 staff. And then our regular stipends, the stipend committee has met, and there's an increase of $1,200. And then the stipend benefits that go with that. No change in tuition reimbursement to teachers and staff for the professional development contract. Tuition reimbursement for ed techs, that's the same, no change. Staff development for teachers overall, again, no change. Travel and conference, professional development, no change. Supplies, no change at $1,000. Now we're into the librarian. And our librarian, there's an increase of $2,087 for wages for next year. And then we have to break out the substitute in this cost center for the librarian. So you'll see that it's sick days at 75%. Is our coverage for the librarian substitute. And now, when you flip it, I'm on the last page. Did I turn that right? No.
Librarian benefits.
Librarian benefits, just because mine's not in the book. Okay, at the top of that page. Librarian benefits, up $130. Group insurance, librarian is up $1,945. Substitute benefits are down $29. Main teachers is up $166. Staff development, library, no change at $200. Software and maintenance agreement, no change at $1,300. Supplies, no change at $750. Books and periodicals for the library collection, no change at $4,000. Equipment, no change at $150. IT manager, an increase of $1,929 in salary. Moving into next year, the benefits up $174. Group insurance up $1,945. Contracted telephone repair services is a new item at $500. Mike, can you help me with the telephone repair services? I didn't ask you before we went in the meeting. You too whispering when we hit that one?
No, Kim usually recommended putting her in there because I've never really budgeted for phone service repair. And usually every year we might have one or two glitches or mishaps that occur, and then it would have to come out of a different line.
Somewhere. So just plan on having up to $500 worth of telephone services each year. Okay, very good. Thank you, Mike.
That's where maintenance and repairs out of my comprehension.
Okay. Well, maintenance and repairs, the variance is only $1,400, so that's the next line item. Photocopy service agreement, there has been none, there is still none, it's still a line, it's in there, it's listed, but it's not funded. And then the MLTI devices, there's none. And Mike, I'm gonna ask you, as we turn the page, because this is the important page in technology where there's some different kinds of money in there. Do you want to just give a quick overview where the state is on this whole MLTI? And you might want to start with what MLTI is, for people that may not know. We just use that language all the time, but that's not to assume anybody watching us knows what that is.
LTI is a program that started in around 2001. It's the Maine Learning Technology Initiative. I believe it was under Bill Daci at the time. And what it did was, the goal was to supply technology devices and resources to the students of 7th and 8th grade at no cost to the local district. Most of the funds were supplied or supplemented by the state, at the state level. Over the years, it evolved, it's changed. Every 4 years, we'd have a refresh, a new contract, new subsidies or bills that we have to pay for, or technology that I need to figure out how to support. So this is our seventh? I don't remember anymore. Refresh process. However, with the former governor exiting and the new governor coming in, there was never any groundwork made to continue this program. Therefore, I have no solid declaration from the state on what to expect after 2020, so after next year, the MLTI program is a big question mark. I've met with tech directors throughout the state. We've sat down, hashed out possible scenario solutions, outcomes, but we've never actually, and we've also sat at the table with the MDOE at the time, but they are retired. All of the MDOE, MLTI, people who were at the top of the chain and command have either quit or retired. So it's basically going to be starting with a fresh slate. If it continues, it may present itself in an entirely new form. And when we met with the MDOE, they had nothing to say as far as its future. They had no solid statements to make. In the past, during the refresh process, the state offered us the device at roughly $50. So we would buy them all out, and I would use those devices to maintain our lower level graded devices at minimal cost, which was great. It worked out great. I was able to push those devices for 5-10 more years, potentially. That's not going to happen this year. I'm not even sure if we can buy the devices at this point, which is hard to plan for the next year's budget, because I'm not sure if I'm buying teacher devices, 7th and 8th grade devices, and at the same time, we got to maintain our old devices. So I kind of engineered a budget that will sustain everything we have now without being a huge impact on the overall budget.
The resolve on MLT, I did have a chance to meet with the new commissioner with a group of superintendents briefly, and it came up that it's her goal. She has a list of things to do, and in there is the MLTI program. And there is no moving forward contract with Apple. All that kind of ends this year with June 30th. So she was pretty creative in her thinking and said, I'll keep you guys apprised. We're going to put together a think tank of people to come up with the best solutions, and it may be, she just kind of threw maybe a la carte choices on what a school wants for technology, because not all schools are alike. Some have more wants than others have, and what device might work best for your school. So I think she's coming at it the right way, and we'll get a lot of good advice, but I don't know that it's happening within our budget cycle. My guess is we won't know much about where we are with computers till probably midsummer. There's a lot of work to be done, and it's a new commissioner and a new governor, so there's a steep learning curve there too. So Mike's done a nice job. We've met with him several times to try to build the best budget we can with a lot of unknowns to get us through next year. Our technology budget a year from now may look totally different, because we will have a governor and a commissioner who's been in office for a year and then already brokered and worked with computer companies in schools. So I know it'll look different, we just don't know what it's going to look like. So as we look at these numbers, keep that in mind, and some of the questions around the future of the program we can't answer because we don't know. But we'll have the technology we have today for next year, and Mike will keep it up to date.
Yeah, my budget, like I said, will sustain us not only next year, but the following year, depending on what the state decides to do. If they're not even going to be involved in this, the funding's here creatively. It will impact.
So you've got 2 years worth of funding in here instead of one?
No.
No.
2-year plan?
It's more like a 2-year plan, yeah. I have half of the total funding in there.
So it's not clear to me why the budget of the 26,000 is so much more than the year before that.
Because
Did we add a lot?
after 2020, we don't know what's going to happen with the MLTI program.
Yeah.
In the past, we would buy out the devices, and I could recycle those devices and trickle them down, because these devices don't only impact the students, but they're also the teacher devices. Like Mr. Ross's laptop is one of the MLTI devices. So when the contract ends in 2020, I'm going to have to ask Mr. Ross to give me his device back.
Right.
So this budget is also going to fund half of either the buyout or the replenish of the device for the previous year, 2020 to 2021.
Right, but you were asking about the software maintenance agreement up at the top line when you said 26,000?
Oh, that, I thought,
Yeah, it's a variance of, let's take each
You're looking
line.
at the top one, he's looking at the one
okay, I thought you were talking
further
about.
down.
Yeah, well, let's answer Virginia's question with the first one, which is FY20 has a variance in software maintenance agreement. It's up $92,008, $9,208. And then you listed, Mike, over on the right, all the different things that supports.
Right. Last year, we purchased Dreambox to help our math initiative, to grow our math scores, but that was purchased through a grant. So you never saw the line number on that. So that's one of the new articles that is in my budget. Along with Alex, this is the 6-8 math program that aligns specifically to their curriculum. And because they didn't find Dreambox useful or functional for their teaching practices in 6-8, didn't align to the curriculum. So we have the Alex program for that group of math instruction.
So we're still using Dreambox?
Yes, Dreambox
It was
is,
new this year under a grant, and we're gonna parlay it into next year on the local budget.
yes, we're using it to try to raise our math, see if it will help raise our math scores. And then we'll come and revisit it to see if it's been effective or not.
Okay, so we're gonna move to cell phone, no change with the $75 per month at $900. Supplies is up, that looks like hardware type supplies is up $600. And then the technology related supplies is actually down $8,850, because there isn't an actual, I think, Mike, is it fair to say because you don't know what the buyout will be? You said half?
Yeah, well, what I plan on, so.
You want to spread it over 2 years, it's in the notes.
Right, yeah, so it's going to affect this budget completely, or drastically. It's spread over the 2021's budget year as well.
So the term deployment of technology will go, it looks like we're gonna need to move to like a 2-year cycle of refreshing and moving computers around if the state takes no action or if it becomes a local initiative. It wouldn't be any different than like how old our curriculum is or our textbook, even though most of them are online now. You have a recycle period of every 3 to 5 years. We'd have to do the same thing with pretty much budgeting for our technology. In this case, he's already been proactive and he spread it out over 2 years. The technology-related hardware, FY20 and the variance, that was not there. That's a new with networking, the main office copier, and the Chromebook refresh. You want to talk about the Chromebook refresh? Because this is what we talked to the middle school teachers about last Thursday.
We're one-to-one kindergarten through pre-K through 8th grade. 7th and 8th grade have MLTI laptops, which we don't know what's going to happen to those. Kindergarten through 6th grade have Chromebooks because they're more fiscally sound at a one-to-one initiative. But the problem is we bought into them nearly 5 years ago, I believe. And it's time to start refreshing those devices as well. So what I've proposed is every 2 years, we budget enough to refresh a cohort or a group of students. And that way it doesn't have a huge impact on a single year budget. And it will be a constant and allow us to maintain what I currently have in place.
So when you say refresh, are you trading in, or are you just scrapping something and buying new products?
We'll be scrapping, and what we scrap usually is going to be donated to the local public.
Well, how much does one Chromebook cost? You must get a discount for buying many.
Well, yeah, and what I plan on doing in the future is, what I've been doing is purchasing the Chromebook with no additional warranties on it. And I just do all of the maintenance on my own, and if something blows up in one, I take the good parts out and fix another kind of thing. My plan in the future is to get a 4-year accidental damage warranty on all the devices. That way, if a kid throws a device at the wall, I get a new device.
So how much does that cost?
$350, $360.
All right, that's with the warranty.
That's everything, warranty, management, device, everything, $350, $360. That's for 4 years. The cycle, as I calculated, will last 6 years. So if I get new devices for, let's say the MLTI program doesn't continue, I get new devices for the 6th through 8th group, that device is going to be in the 6-8 group, or next group, that cohort, for 6 years. So after the 4-year mark, I'm going to be doing swapping parts to keep it going for another 2 years. But that's the best I think I can do in this fiscal setup, unless the state steps in and subsidizes, which I hope they do.
So if you don't buy the warranty package, what's the Chromebook cost?
It's still $250, $300. But that's for there's no accidental damage involved in that. I mean, when the kid throws a device, it's...
Do you have a one of that?
No, but...
Apparently, tonight.
But that was the most extreme example of what could happen.
But do we have on these devices protection, some covers on these?
Well, they're military grade, like you can drop it 3 or 4 feet and it's not gonna do anything to it.
The Chromebooks are pretty hefty.
Yeah, they're designed for kids to beat on.
Step on.
They
Sit on.
can handle pounding.
Yeah.
But if a screen does crack, which they have, I have to buy a screen and that's $120 right there. So
But if that happens once a year, is it worth buying a warranty package on all of them you
for
buy?
4 years, yeah, because that's a flat fee, $350, that's your flat fee, that's your warranty, that's everything. So for 4 years, that device is going to be fresh on the 4th year, for the 5th year and 6th year coming down the pipeline. I feel like it's the best way to go about doing it, the safest way.
And then, as far as teacher devices go, if the state's out of the business, we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. I mean, we did speak with one cohort, the upper cohort, about, if MLTI is not supporting the $1,000 Mac Air, then, we'll be working with something that's probably closer to $400. But we don't know. But we didn't want to surprise anybody. We'll know that hopefully by mid-next year.
What if a teacher throws in the
Under warranty.
It's under warranty. No matter who.
Under warranty.
No matter who.
I do like your analogies, Mike. Thank you for the color this evening. FY20 for total dues and fees at $475. For FY20 is a variance of $475 for the MSLN Dues Network of Maine. Looks like you got a year off from that, and now you're back?
No.
Because I don't see that it was in the
There should have been
previous year.
$300 there at least.
Okay, so it went from 300 to 475, from 475 to 475?
That covers the technology director's
Your dues and fees for your ACTM, or whatever it's called?
and Actum, yeah, tech
Okay.
directors and Actum.
Okay. So the total expenditures, as you come down on this one particular article, is a variance of $27,796, which of all of our different articles we've looked at in the total budget, that's the one that's priced the most. The good news is, when we turn the page from Article 6, are there any lasting questions on Article 6 before I move to the total
Yes,
budget
we're
for the
only
FY?
up $27,796 because of the $25,000.
Correct.
Otherwise, it'd be up 2,000 something, right?
No, to go back over the whole thing and whatnot.
Right.
What is the increase or decrease on health insurance? Do we have a firm figure for that? Never heard that yet.
No, they are meeting on the 21st to put I have the numbers as far as our loss ratios, so I know where we are there. But as far as
The percent.
the 4 categories and what those rates are gonna be in each category, I do not know. Alls I know is the max was 9%, which is what we put in, was 9%.
So we booked in 9%.
I didn't say
No?
that. No, I'm just saying that,
The placeholder. isn't it?
Placeholder 9%. So these figures are based on the placeholder?
Worst case scenario. We didn't want to come in lower and find out it was.
Oh, I know, I understand, I mean, the
one of those costs we
figures are
don't have.
staggering when you look at the health insurance. and
Sure.
everything.
Actually, the pie chart that Kim gave you along with the total budget kind of shows where our investment is in the different categories of the school budget. So if we move from Article 6, you're using the book, so I need to take this off. You go here. Last page that looks something like this, if you can see from a distance. This is your year's comparison, 1819 to 1920. We can take each one of these apart. But when you move all the way over to the right and look at the bottom line, net operating changes or an increase overall, it comes in way less than 1%. It's almost flat, or a total increase of a $5,600,553 budget to $8,436. So overall, it's an increase of $8,436, which gets you to the less than 1% number. If you want to go through and ask any questions about what these numbers mean, I think we've got everybody in the room that can answer those questions. Because the next thing I'll move us to is just to take a look at the reserve, what we have for reserve balances and a recommendation. Of course, remember, when we have our meeting with the town, each one of these is an article they vote on independently, which brings you to your total, but tonight's the night where I can say, all the work we've done prior to this time, this is what it equals, coming in at the end of the year.
I have just a general question.
Sure. See who answers it. Yeah.
Of the money in the reserves account now, can any of that be spent to offset your budget projections for this coming year?
No, it's not what it's set up for.
You guys, yeah.
No, the technology reserve has 10,000 in it.
That's for catastrophic
That's
damage,
just something
Use your
different.
server.
like serving.
that was what the server blew
No,
up.
is that what you're talking about? To use
Yeah, that kind of
that?
thing.
She's talking about any one of the
Okay.
Good
categories.
question, yeah.
Is there a certain amount in these reserve funds that has to be the minimum that you keep there? Is there anything over and above that that you could spend on other things in the school?
If it's in a reserve account, it has to be used for that reserve account only. You can't move it to a different account. You can't use it to buy Johnny some new whatevers.
Right.
It only can be used for the specific purpose that those accounts were set up for.
Okay, well, the technology reserve fund was the first one that came to mind, but you
Sure.
said that's supposed to be for something.
An example of that, Virginia, would be, it was prior to I think the year before I showed up, that was voted in, or was voted in at some point for catastrophic repairs that have to do with technology. If we lost our server, if something happened and we were completely offline, we could go to that account for a quick fix and get us back online, kind of. That's metaphorically speaking. That's what the reserve accounts were voted in by the public for various bonds in very specific
16,
areas.
original figure.
Your question's a good one, is can we use it to offset? The answer to that is no, not in this case. But that's what they're there for.
They were set up with specific, I mean, Jeanette here has a sheet of exactly the wording at the time. And so, to make it short and sweet, when you have this, it's just
Yeah,
labeled
see
like
what it's for,
that.
right.
You know, but we have a whole thing, a paragraph for each one of what it was set up for.
And they were created, let's see, for the year 2015-16.
Yep.
And these are the original words, if anybody wants to look at them, to see why.
Can I just get a copy of it when you have it?
Yeah, we can, it's kind of long, but I'm sure it'll.
Another concern about dipping into those for any of, is that, like the technology, is going to be an annual thing, so once you dig into it, that's,
It's gone.
yeah. And,
Okay, if you want, that's a good parlay over to the reserve. We met, and talked a little bit about long-range planning and what we might want to do with our, reserve accounts. Kim, you printed this just today, correct?
Yep.
And last year, just to remind the committee, we recognized through the good work of the long-range planning committee that our paved areas in the school, for motor vehicles and buses, need some attention, and we put together a multi-year plan to put a little bit of money away each year to get to the money that we need. It's roughly about $1 a square foot or $50,000, that's rough, to do the paved surfaces of the school. Last year, we went to the town and asked for $15,000 and got it towards that $50,000. My recommendation this year to get us closer in this fiscal year would be to put in an article towards that same paving account for $20,000. We gotta work our way to the $50,000 mark and then get the work done. So that would be my recommendation for moving forward for the budget, separate of the regular operating budget.
Separate article.
Separate article, separate of what we just looked at with all the data. We're looking to, and that's no mystery, because that's how we couched it last year. We said, this is 15, we gotta get to 50. So I'm proposing we do 20, that'll get us to 35. And a year from now, we'll reassess where we are with costs and see if we need to do one more installment to get the work done or not.
So do you have any bids so far that you?
No, it's far enough out.
$50,000, where did that?
That happened last year. Andy did some bids to give us the number at that time last year, so now it's a year later. It could be more, it could be less, right? Yeah. Yeah, we had the bids to get that number at $1 a square foot with the current price of, asphalt and petroleum and everything else.
And with the repaving and anything else that goes along with that be done in 1 year? Is this going to be also spread over several years?
We're hoping to build this up in increments and then execute the actual work once we've got the money to fully fund the project.
So it'd be done all in 1 year.
We'll get it all done. We do it all in the summertime.
I guess though, like, if you're envisioning, could we do like sections at a time?
Yeah.
Like, could we do $15,000 worth of paving this year, 20,000, and then have it like in 3 phases? We could, I guess, but it's...
No, I didn't have any vision in mind. I was just...
No, it's a little bit like saving away for a project. We're putting a little bit away each year towards a fairly big project. At the time last year, we were thinking going to the town for $50,000 for pavement next year seemed a little heavy, so we were looking to get a little bit each year till we get to our mark.
I know, but this year you're getting heavier.
Well, only to get us a little closer, because gas is down right now, and the square footage is...
It was down.
Well, you're right, 15 to 20, and then if that gets us to 35, and the whole thing is 50 next year, maybe that's the last year we ask for the balance and we're there. If it goes up, maybe it's another year. Maybe if we get a quote and we're closer, maybe next year we're asking for $4,000 or $5,000, $8,000 to get it. This 20 will get us a lot closer to the last time we probably need to ask, is my thinking. That's why I went into 20 instead of 15.
If you look at the wording in the article of the budget from last year at town meeting, I forget exactly the words, but it was written as how we're gonna ask for this money to get to where we're going all the time. So there's no question, right? And why we're doing this and how we're doing it every year by asking for funds to build up this fund. Because we run into problems before trying to get, do these, it wasn't spelled out enough in the article. I don't remember exactly what it said, but maybe you do, I don't know. But
If you look at like historically, like since I've been here, the school has averaged each year of roughly between $20,000 and $25,000 per year in capital improvements, whether it's been like a LED lighting outside, like an upgrade, or whether it's been...
Well, the generator, we did.
The generator was a big ticket item, but that was funded through the town, that was a $50,000 project. But if you go back and you look, each year, we've been doing capital improvement projects, and when we sat down at the table and developed a 5-year plan, we realized that some of these items, like the paving, for example, is kind of a bigger item. So we felt like in good faith of the town, like a plan where in smaller increments,
We weren't so bad.
we were doing the responsible
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, saving a little bit each year.
And kind of like when we began the process of planning for repaving, it was approximately 2 years after we had put out to bid the crack filling and seal coating. So when I obtained those bids and met with these contractors, I told them that long-term we were looking at doing this. So it gave me a good idea as far as when we developed the RFP, when we go to bid for the project, what I should be looking for. And some of the pricing that I got one firm price from a contractor who actually did the seal coating, to give us a kind of a baseline for the funding and the amount that we would need.
And when we bought the John Deere tractor, are we almost all done paying for that?
This is the
The
last,
last year, I went over that.
We're making $586 a month payment, I think it is. So this is the last
But
year.
it was like a 5-year loan,
Right.
0%. How did it go wrong?
3 years.
3 years? What a year, we did good.
Yeah.
We did good. 0% interest.
So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Next week, we kind of reverse seats. Next week, we have a regular school committee meeting at 5, and then it's your meeting on this budget. And is there anything that you would like us to prepare for that meeting? Meaning at this point, it's your chance to review as a committee. How would you like to proceed on that? That's the schedule, 5 and then 6.
I don't see that we're missing much information, if any at all. Y'all have been very, very forthcoming, in providing us all the information that we could possibly digest. And then some. So, I don't foresee any need for further information. I can always contact him if I need something, or if I need something, but I don't, there doesn't appear to be anything lacking.
Okay,
We should be ready to roll,
sounds good.
as far as I'm concerned.
We will be diligent to be ready to roll at 6 o'clock. We have a pretty healthy agenda. Judy and I went over it for the 5 o'clock meeting, and then we'll roll it right into a meeting, and I guess you'll give the meeting over to Warrant and Finance and let them do their work, and
Exactly.
even though metaphorically we're kind of trading places, I would still like to sit in this seat, just because I always sit in this seat.
We'll have to see about it.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
My seat,
Yeah, you
followed me
can have it.
Yeah, or you want to be facing the camera.
Yeah, we do.
Doesn't make any.
You're on camera.
I'm on too many cameras.
Now, on March 18th, it says budget due at town hall for selectmen's meeting and signed warrant.
Right, that's just doing it.
That means we gotta have it up to the town. Yeah.
So, but we don't have to arrive at that one.
We don't have to do anything after, as a group, on budget, after next week's meeting with Warrant and Finance,
On
and
the
that's their
12th,
meeting.
right.
And then at that point, it kind of moves on to the town's budget. Judy and I have some work to get information out about the vote and the town budget, what it is, what it isn't, and then that'll be April 2nd. To get it up to the town and the April 2nd date are kind of like by law, we have to get it into the town for the selectmen, and then that date, at a certain date, to have that April 2nd meeting, so that's why it's gotta be up on the 18th.
Yeah, but next week, if your committee wants to come, no one's been showing up. So, yeah.
The committee,
Two times.
representation.
Well, unfortunately, we had, personnel that were selected to represent Warrant and Finance. One in particular I won't mention, he's not here. So I did tell Mr. Ross that I would make all future meetings,
Yes.
just so that they're, so I don't really need to get a phone call from Jennifer. Hey, you haven't had any representation at the school budget meetings, which kind of, upset me quite honestly.
No, it wasn't that.
The call didn't upset me, the fact that, no one had shown up.
Oh, I know.
For the previous two, because I made pretty much all of them the past couple of years.
You had a couple of zoning board, not zoning board, but the zoning board of appeals meetings that conflicted with us.
No, the
Done a great job.
selectmen meeting is Tuesday night.
Right, but as the Warren Finance Chair, you've done a great job of communicating with me, I appreciate you.
The Board of Appeals hopefully is done,
One of those nights was a conflict for sure.
really. Unfortunately, with Board of Selectmen meeting Tuesdays at 5
Sure.
o'clock, and then, it's like, all right, I can't split myself out, hard as I try.
Well, I understand, but I mean, other years.
I felt bad because we didn't have representation here. And I do apologize to this auspicious board.
Well, the representation that you do have has asked great questions and has been very supportive. For that, I thank you.
You're right with you. We try to do the best that we can. Just as a heads up, F.R. Carroll got bought out.
Oh, yeah?
Yes,
Just recent?
yes.
Drive by there every day.
Yeah, I know now it's called Carroll Materials instead of FR Carroll.
And it's not F.R. Carroll anymore. Got bought out by another company.
What do they do?
They're a big contractor.
They're
Big contractor, yeah.
paving, concrete,
Huge pair.
raw material as far as,
Yeah.
sand, salt, not salt, sand, gravel, etc.
State projects.
They're a major paver in this area
Supplier too.
and supplier, yeah,
Must have been beneficial to them.
I'm sure. No money went in my pocket.
We adjourned?
Anybody have anything else to bring up?
You know what our mission committee meets on Thursday. You're the representative from the school committee for Thursday night. We'll take care of that piece. Okay? Thank you, everyone, for being here.
For a motion to adjourn. So moved.
At whatever time you.
All in favor?
There you go, we're done.